Guess what? That's me. That's a pretty good drawing that I got at an event from Independence Title in Rockwall with Crystal and Michelle years ago. Um, and it's still great, and I framed it. But that's not why I'm here to talk to you today. We're going to do a quick market update, but I also want you to stay towards the very end because I have two very important stories that you need to hear, whether you're thinking about buying or selling, or maybe even if you're a fellow colleague, an agent. I believe that my two stories are very, very important for all of you to watch and tune into. So, first, market update. Today's March 28th of 2025. Have to say that for future purposes. And in the past 7 days in North Texas, in 8 counties, there have been over 3,400 new listings hitting the market. But you know what's even more amazing? There has been 3,475 price decreases, and homes are still selling. There are right now 1,984 pending, and there's also 1,986 that have closed within the past 7 days. So, what does all this tell you? We may or may not be going through some price corrections, right, with the number of price decreases. But you know what's the amazing part? A lot of these price decreases are, yes, unrealistic expectations from sellers and or their agents. Um, but some are need to sell and move, so they have no choice but to decrease the price. Yet their home is worth it, and so there's just different reasons for this. But the market is still moving. I mean, look at that. How many homes closed in the past 7 days? All right. So now to my two stories. And it's very important when you are in the market or thinking about buying or selling a home, a commercial property, which we both do. Um, you need to really, 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 really interview the agent, multiple agents at that. I always recommend for people to interview multiple agents and ask them some hard questions to see who is really going to look out for your best interest, or if you have that feeling that they're really just trying to load up their pocketbook. Because I don't know if anybody's ever told you when you sign an agreement with an agent to work with them, when you go under contract on a house or a commercial property, when you are signing these documents, if agents aren't explaining to you, these documents are legally binding between you and the other party. So always please read them, always ask questions. Now, to my two stories here. So, recently we were supposed to have a closing last Tuesday. And in both of these situations, just so you know, we represent the seller. Um, we were supposed to have a closing on a listing last Tuesday. Well, we get an email, I believe that Monday last week, that, or actually maybe the day of closing, now that I think about it, on Tuesday when we were supposed to close, that the buyer wasn't ready, that they needed to extend. And we should go ahead and sign and just extend because that's what people do. I, I was blown away because that's not what people do. Your contracts read that you should be closed on or before whatever dates in that contract, and if not, there are consequences to the other party. That is in the contract. But the most mind-blowing part was they needed to extend because the buyer's mortgage lender, and this is crazy, they sent it to me in writing in an email, that they took off the previous Friday, and then on Monday they had technical difficulties. I mean, who puts that in writing and just tells the other party, "Hey, kudos to them for telling me the truth," right? But bad representation for their client, because you just never know what a seller has dependent on the sale of this home, right? Of the contract. They could be moving, they could be waiting for these funds, they could be contingent on another property. It could be costing them daily. Well, unfortunately, they kept asking us to extend because that's what we should do and that's what everybody does. And unfortunately, my client in order for them to extend, it was going to cost them money for their future obligations that they had. And so we told them, unfortunately, that's not going to work. And here are our terms to extend. There was some financial stuff included with that. And then I get a call from the mortgage loan officer. Oh my God, bless their heart, asking me that if my sellers do not close or promise to extend, they were just going to push the file to the side for the buyer and move on because they're super busy and they have other clients to attend to. I was like, holy shit. Are you serious? Now, I didn't say that to them, but I'm just like, well, I cannot speak for my client, but if I was you, I wouldn't do that without consulting with your buyer first. But hey, that's your choice on how you do business. And so it was just, and then, they called me all kinds of names and stuff, how unprofessional. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I represent my client in their best interest. And when I advise them and give them things, they tell me what they want to do. And that's what I relay the message for, right? I do not speak for them. I do not make the decisions for them. I advise them and they can or cannot take my advice and they tell me how they want to move forward. They thought we were joking around. They thought this was a joke that everybody extends at no cost because there's no repercussions or consequences for not complying with the contract. And we told them, look, we need to either put this house back on the market, but and y'all are in default. Y'all didn't show up to closing. You aren't ready. So if we do terminate, the earnest money is released to the seller per the contract. Well, I mean, my client's like, cool, terminate. If they ain't taking this serious, we need this house back on the market and sold. And so, I told them, hey, my client says if we do not receive the amendment with our terms to extend, that we are going to terminate. It didn't happen. So my client's like, peace. Well, afterwards, they thought we were bluffing, and then they start scrambling like, oh, we'll get this done, we'll have it done tomorrow, we just need 2 days. And I'm like, cool, 2 days is still going to cost you because it's costing the seller, and they should not have to eat those costs because of your lender taking a day off. And so at the end of the day, yes, they agreed to the terms to extend for the client, and we were able to get it closed. But the moral of that story is follow the contract. And if your agent ain't telling you that there are certain things in the contract and certain timelines and that they're not proactively communicating with you, unfortunately, you hired probably somebody wrong. But so when you're in that interview process of interviewing agents, please, 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 please make sure that you ask these hard questions. And if they stutter or if they aren't giving you the answers you think are professional or that look out for your best interest, find somebody else. And I can tell you right now, guys, I am not everybody's cup of tea. And I do not know everything, which is why we have a broker that we can go to and ask. And our brokers are fairly quickly to respond. But just make sure you know these people. They're maybe from a referral. You read some Google reviews that are actually true Google reviews, not these robots. And you just do your due diligence and homework before going under contract with an agent to help you, whether you're buying, selling a home, townhome, land, commercial property, commercial lease, whatever it is, right? But I'm not done, guys. This is crazy. Here's story number 2. Once again, I represent the seller, and everything's going smooth on this transaction. Everything's communicated. Everybody's cool and whatnot. Well, there was an issue with a certain complex that had nothing to do with the building or the unit that we were selling, where per the buyer's lender, that this home was not eligible for whatever program this buyer was on or they were using. And till we did, until the complex themselves fixed every single property in the neighborhood, basically. And I'm like, I think that's total BS. I mean, I've done this for a while. Do I know everything? No, but I've never heard of that. But whatever. So I start I have to break the bad news to my clients that, there's these issues and it may delay or terminate the closing and whatnot. And this is this week, right? We're supposed to close today. Keep that in mind. And so I'm scrambling, doing what I do, my due diligence. I start looking for other properties in the neighborhood that sold. And I'm calling these agents and asking them, hey, here's a situation I'm dealing with. Did y'all go through this situation? They're like, no. What kind of did y'all have a, whatever loan with this thing, blah, blah, blah? They're like, yep, no issues. Nope, we closed early. We closed on time. I'm just like, something's a little fishy, right? And not every lender is the same. They all have their different guidelines or requirements, but there are some that are per Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and things like that everybody follows. So I say, hey, buyer's agent, this lender's closed just last week on time, early, same type of loan or maybe program that your buyer is on, and they had zero issues. So I'm not sure why your lender is saying they can't do it when this guy come. Maybe you talk to your buyer and see if they talk to this lender. I don't even know who this lender is, but the buyer's agent on this other property told me they got it done. And so I'm like, maybe that's an option, right? Once again, they didn't read the contract. They did not read the contract. So in one of the contracts, there is by the way, guys, let me just back up real quick. By the way, there are tons of ways a buyer can get out of a contract. I mean, there's even a book written on it. Somebody wrote a book that literally states the 32 buyer outs in the Texas real estate contract. Now, take it, this is an old book, but there's still a lot of great information. Contracts are written that are buyer friendly, just FYI. And we're blessed to be doing this for a while that we know, if not all, probably 99% of these things, which is why we have our procedures set up with all these deadlines and all these timelines that everybody's staying on the same page, right? And shit happens. I get it. Things fall apart, whatever. There's things that are out of our control. But I'm doing my due diligence. I'm like, hey, this is what it is, blah, blah, blah. Then they took it upon themselves to, I guess, wait or try to figure out if it can be resolved. I don't know what. But at the end of the day, they didn't read the contract. They terminated yesterday, a day before closing. And the way they terminated, it wasn't right because there are no more ways out. You're a day before closing, and all the deadlines and timelines outlined in the contract that is written in black and white ink have passed. And so they thought that the earnest money should go back to the buyer. And I'm like, well, unfortunately, per the contract, it does not. It goes to my seller. You should have terminated on, Monday, which it states on or before the third day, and you did not. All these excuses started flowing. Oh, well, we couldn't. We couldn't because we were waiting on XYZ. No, you could have. You could have looked out for your client's best interest. And once again, I see an email from your lender saying, hey, let me know if the buyer wants to try these options to get it done. Your buyer elected not to go through those options, which means it could have got done if your buyer wanted to. That's what's just freaking crazy about this thing. And so, there were some email exchanges, and I'm just like, cool, here's our paperwork that says the money should come to the seller. They said, nope, here's our paperwork that it should come to the buyer. I said, sorry. Unfortunately, my sellers don't see that. I communicated that with my sellers. My sellers are like, no, we just wasted a whole month. We have other obligations, and now it's going to cost us and everything else. And it's a whole mess, right? And think about it. If you were to close on a home that you're selling or buying and it terminates the day before, it's not just about the house. How many emotions play? How many other obligations play out that now cannot trickle down the line? And what's crazy is I'm like, cool, that my clients, well, what's our options? I'm like, well, you can agree just to give them their earnest money back. You can fight for it. But at the end of the day, you know what you can also do? You can also seek legal counsel. Every contract, majority of the contracts at the very bottom, it states, and some of them at the very top, it states do not sign unless you have consulted with an attorney, right? You have those options that, yes, you're hiring a real estate professional, but at the end of the day, depending on the deal and the stuff, you also have the right to consult an attorney to go over everything before you sign it. Now, not many people do when you're hiring a professional, but at the end of the day, you have that choice. So I let them know that. They said, okay, Matt, we will decide what to do and get back to you. I relayed that message to the other client. I'm like, hey, unfortunately, my clients don't feel that it's right for your client, to get all of the earnest money back. I gave them their options, up to also, hey, if you wanted to, you can seek legal counsel. That's their choice. I said they're going to let me know, and I will relay the message once they have decided the option that they want to go with, so that way we can get this resolved. Well, at the end of the day, the clients split it. They split the earnest money, and yeah, and then everybody was released of liabilities, and the contract terminated. It was already terminated, but everybody, I'm not sure going to say happy, but they came to a resolution to get things moving for each party. But once again, guys, if you don't have the right representation that knows these things and or that can guide you through these things and advise you on these type of situations, right? We all want things to go smooth. Unfortunately, they don't always go smooth, but you want somebody who has your back, who will advise you properly and who will let you know the options you have to decide to do, and ultimately it's your decision on how to do them. So that's just my 20-minute almost rant, but I really thought it was very important, because if you watch one of my previous videos back in, I think, January, February, about how a seller before they hired us got taken advantage of from another agent in the industry who was also playing contractor. It's just it's just crazy, right? I wish our industry was had a little bit more, you know, stipulations to get licensed, because really you just take some courses and pass an exam and you can get licensed. I wish we were a lot like, a plumber or electrician, where you have to go to school, you become an apprentice, and after so many years or hours or stuff, then you can become, in transactions, you can become a journeyman, and then you, after so many years and stuff, then you can become a master. Like, I wish our industry had something like that. Our industry needs that, right, at the end of the day. But just wanted to let you know, give you those market update, obviously, but also just share these two stories with you, and share with everybody that you know. Please, agents, educate yourself. Read these contracts in and out. You have to be the voice, the advisor to these clients, to know what they're signing and what they're getting into. So, if you're an agent, guys, don't take this as any, I'm not bashing anybody. I'm trying to educate everybody on what they should do when they're in this industry to become better agents themselves, but also for you, consumers, clients who are thinking about buying and selling, residential, commercial, leases, land, whatever it is. You need to make sure you have the right representation in your corner. So, guys, that is all. It is Friday. I wish you all a blessed and an amazing weekend. And if me or my team, or can do anything for you, if you're buying, if you're selling, if you're looking for a commercial property, if you're looking for land, we can help you out. And agents, if you're looking for somebody to partner with, to align with, to help you grow your business, to mentor you, reach out. I love giving back to agents. Ask any of the agents that are aligned with us. We're all in this together, and we all need to get better. That's why we have coaches and mentors ourselves, because we just want to be better for our clients at the end of the day. So if we can help any of you guys, let us know. Wish you